Today we're diving into something really quite special, a resource specifically designed for young women, those who are interested in health and humanitarian work. It's called Women Inspiring Women, a project from the Geneva Learning Foundation, TGLF as we'll call it.
What makes it so exciting is that it's not just one thing. It's a beautifully produced book and a peer learning course, both drawing on the experience of 177 women in the field.
177, that's a huge number, a wealth of experience from across Africa, Asia, and Latin America. These women work in all sorts of environments, bustling cities, remote villages, refugee camps, even conflict zones.
Yeah. And what's fascinating is that TGLF has a network of over 60,000 health workers.
Yeah. Okay, let's unpack what makes this project so unique. So the book itself, it's structured in a very personal way. Many of the contributions are actually written as letters of advice to the women's own daughters.
Yeah. It creates this incredibly powerful sense of mentorship and lineage, almost like a passing of the torch to the next generation.
Yeah. And it's not all sunshine and roses either, is it? These women are very honest about the challenges they faced. This quote from Dr. Eugenia Shigamane, a specialist in Malawi, she says, "Pursuing a career in health work is not for the faint-hearted."
Absolutely right. They talk about low pay, long hour, limited resources, the emotional toll of dealing with such difficult situations. But what really shines through is this resilience and deep sense of fulfillment that they find in the work.
Yeah, there's a line from Helena Sowo, a nurse in Kenya, that really struck me. She tells her daughter, "As a health worker, I can confirm to you that so many things give satisfaction in life, but none gives so much gratification, like being there for people at their worst."
It's so powerful. It speaks to the heart of why so many of these women are drawn to this field, that desire to make a tangible difference in people's lives, especially during times of crisis.
And we see that echoed throughout the book. Another contributor, Abaji Kelechi Victoria, a nurse in Nigeria, she puts it this way: "I love to wipe tears off people's eyes and take away their pain. That was why I wanted to be a nurse midwife. I enjoy it because I can serve humanity."
Compassion and empathy are definitely driving forces, but they also stress the importance of practical skills and knowledge. Education, continuous learning, building a strong network, finding mentors, those are all key themes that emerge.
And something else that stood out to me was this emphasis on self-care. They recognize that to care for others effectively, you need to take care of yourself. Avoiding burnout, setting boundaries, making time for things that bring you joy. It's not selfish. It's essential.
That's a crucial point, especially in fields that can be so demanding and emotionally draining. They're not just role models for their work, they're role models for how to live a balanced and fulfilling life.
So we've talked about the book. Let's shift gears to the peer learning course. How does that build on what we've seen so far?
Think of the book as the foundation, the inspiration. The course takes those stories and transforms them into a much more dynamic learning experience.
Okay, so you're not just passively reading, you're actively engaging with the material and with other people from around the world.
Exactly. And it all revolves around this really unique four-step learning methodology. First, you dive deep into the stories from the book, immersing yourself in the diverse experience of all these women. And then you take a step back and reflect on how those stories resonate with your own experiences and aspirations.
That's where the aha moments start to happen. It's not just about learning from these women, but learning about yourself in the process.
And then comes the really exciting part. You get to exchange feedback and ideas with a global network of peers who are also on this journey.
So it becomes this incredible global conversation where you're learning from each other, supporting each other, and challenging each other to grow.
Exactly. It's like having a global mentorship network right at your fingertips. And finally, you take all of that learning and you translate it into action. By developing this personalized action plan, what are your unique goals? What steps can you take to make them a reality?
It's amazing to think that this course launches on March 23rd, 2025. That's just around the corner.
It is, and it's available in both English and French, which means it's accessible to an even wider audience.
That's fantastic, and I love how it really empowers young women to take ownership of their careers and make a tangible difference in the world.
Speaking of empowerment, there's a story I want to share with you. It really captures the essence of this project. It's about a woman named Dr. Faiza Rabbani, a public health specialist from Pakistan. Her story beautifully illustrates this theme of intergenerational mentorship that we've been talking about.
Let's hear it.
In the book, Dr. Rabbani writes a letter to her daughter, Anam. She starts by saying, "My dear Anam, your late grandmother brought me up with the saying, 'Empowered women, empower women.'"
That's beautiful. It speaks to the power of legacy. and the ripple effect that one woman's influence can have.
Absolutely. And Dr. Rabbani's actions, they truly embody this philosophy. She shares how she involved Annam in her work from a very young age.
I'm intrigued. What kind of experiences did Annam have?
As a baby, she went along to school health and hygiene programs. Later, they visited mobile medical camps in remote areas. As a schoolgirl, Annam even observed her mother's training sessions for healthcare providers.
Wow, it sounds like an incredible randership in compassion and service.
It really is. And it's had a profound impact on Annam. Dr. Rabbani shares that her daughter is now in medical school. She's studying to become a rehabilitation physician for children with disabilities. It's like this beautiful cycle of inspiration and mentorship coming full circle.
And it highlights a theme that we see throughout Women Inspiring Women, the importance of role models. Many of these women were inspired by other women in their lives, their mothers, grandmothers, teachers, colleagues.
And now they're stepping into those roles themselves, showing a new generation that it is possible to pursue a career in this field, even in the face of adversity.
It's inspiring, to say the least. But before we get too carried away, let's take a pause here. We'll be back in a moment with part 2 of our deep dive, where we'll delve even further into the stories and insights from Women Inspiring Women.
Welcome back to our deep dive into Women Inspiring Women. Just before the break, we were discussing that incredible story of Dr. Faiza Rabbani and her daughter, Anam.
It's a powerful example of how early exposure to this kind of work can really spark a lifelong passion. But I think it also raises some interesting questions about the complexities of mentorship, doesn't it?
I agree. It's not always as simple as just passing on knowledge or skills. There are cultural nuances, there's power dynamics, even generational differences to consider.
Absolutely. And what works for one person might not work for another. It makes me think about the peer-to-peer learning aspect of the Women Inspiring Women course. How do they address these complexities in a global online setting?
That's one of the things that makes this course so unique. They've really thought through the challenges of fostering these meaningful connections across cultures and time zones.
So tell me more about this 4-step learning methodology. What makes it so effective?
The first step, immersing yourself in the stories. It's all about sparking curiosity and broadening your perspective. You're exposed to a wide range of experiences and approaches, which helps you challenge your own assumptions and see things from different angles.
It's like stepping into someone else's shoes, even if just for a moment. And then the reflection step allows you to process those experiences and connect them to your own life.
Exactly. It's not just about passively absorbing information. It's about actively making meaning of it and figuring out what resonates with you personally.
And that's where the peer exchange comes in, being able to share your thoughts and insights with others who are going through the same process.
It creates this incredibly rich learning environment where you're not just learning from the facilitators or the material, but from each other.
I can imagine that leads to some really powerful aha moments as people share their perspectives and challenge each other's thinking. But what about the technology? How does the online platform actually facilitate this kind of global dialogue?
They've designed it to be incredibly user-friendly and accessible. There are discussion forums, video conferencing tools, even the option to connect one-on-one with other participants.
So it's really about creating a virtual community where people feel comfortable sharing their experiences and supporting each other's growth.
Absolutely. And the final step, developing your personalized action plan, helps you take all of that learning and turn it into tangible action.
So it's not just about inspiration or warm, fuzzy feelings. It's about empowering you to make a real difference in the world.
Exactly. And one of the things they emphasize in the course is this importance of connecting personal goals to wider systemic issues.
That's a crucial point. It's not enough to just focus on individual success. We need to be thinking about how to create a more equitable and just system for everyone.
And the stories in the book really highlight this point. For example, there's several contributions from women working in rural communities where access to healthcare is extremely limited.
That's an issue that's close to my heart. I've always been passionate about the right to health for all, regardless of where you live or your economic status.
And these women are on the front lines of that fight, advocating for better resources, training local healthcare workers, finding creative solutions to overcome these seemingly insurmountable obstacles.
Their stories are a powerful reminder that even small actions can have a ripple effect. But it also makes me wonder what specific systemic changes are needed to create a more supportive environment for women in these fields.
That's a big question, and there's no easy answer. But the book does offer some valuable insights. Many of the women talk about the need for better policies to support work-life balance, especially for women who are also mothers.
That makes sense. It's hard enough to navigate like a demanding career. But when you add childcare and other family responsibilities to the mix, it becomes even more challenging.
Exactly. And they emphasize the importance of addressing gender bias and discrimination, both within the workplace and in wider society.
Because it's not just about getting women into these roles, it's about creating a culture where they can thrive and reach their full potential.
Absolutely. And that requires challenging those deeply ingrained assumptions and power structures.
There's a quote from Kina Ida Louise, a midwife in Burkina Faso, that really resonated with me on this point. She says, "Never give up in the face of obstacles and difficulties, because there's always a positive point in every situation we go through, and we must know how to exploit it to move forward."
That's so powerful. It speaks to the resilience and determination that these women embody, but it also acknowledges the reality of the obstacles they face. They're not sugarcoating it. They're facing these challenges head on and finding ways to turn them into opportunities for growth.
And their stories remind us that change doesn't happen overnight, does it? It takes time, persistence, and a collective effort.
And sometimes it starts with a single spark of inspiration.
Like the one we see in the story of Dr. Rabbani and her daughter, or the countless other stories woven throughout Women Inspiring Women.
And that's where the peer learning course comes in. It takes that spark and fans it into a flame, empowering a new generation of women to carry the torch forward.
It's exciting to think about the potential impact of this project, but before we jump ahead, there's another aspect of the book I want to touch on, the visual element. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words, and these images add a whole other layer of depth to the stories.
You're right. The book isn't just text. It's a beautifully curated collection of photographs that capture the essence of these women's lives and work.
So tell me, what are some of the images that have stayed with you?
There's one that I keep coming back to. It's a photo of a young woman, a doctor, working in a mobile medical clinic in a remote village. She's surrounded by patients, all eagerly awaiting her care. She has this look of intense focus and compassion on her face as she listens to a young mother describe her child's symptoms.
It sounds like a powerful image of dedication and empathy. What about the setting? Does the photo give you a sense of the challenges she might be facing?
Absolutely. You can see that the clinic is very basic. It's just a tent set up in a dusty field. Resources are clearly limited, but the doctor's commitment to her patients it's unwavering.
It reminds us that healthcare isn't just about fancy equipment or high-tech facilities. It's about human connection and the unwavering desire to alleviate suffering. Are there any other images that stand out to you?
There's another one that really struck me. It's a photo of a group of women, all healthcare workers, gathered around a table in a brightly lit room. They're laughing and sharing stories, their faces radiating joy and camaraderie.
It's a beautiful reminder of the power of community and the importance of finding support in each other, especially in a field that can be so demanding. Do you think this photo speaks to the importance of mentorship and networking that we talked about earlier?
Definitely. You can almost feel the sense of shared experience and mutual support in that image. It's like a visual representation of the global community that the peer learning course aims to create.
And it makes me think about the wider impact of this project. It's not just about training individual healthcare workers. It's about fostering a global network of women who are committed to making a difference in the world.
And that's what makes Women Inspiring Women so powerful. It's not just a book or a course. It's a movement that's empowering women to step into their full potential and create a more just and equitable world for all.
It's a vision that I think we can all get behind. But before we get too carried away, let's take another pause here. We'll be back in a moment with the final part of our deep dive, where we'll explore how we can all take action and contribute to this movement for change. Welcome back to our deep dive into Women Inspiring Women. We've heard these incredible stories, explored the power of mentorship, and even taken a virtual trip through the book's stunning photographs.
We have, and we've talked about the potential of the peer learning course to really spark change. But now let's bring it back to you, the listener. How can you take all this inspiration and turn it into action?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It's easy to feel overwhelmed by the scale of the challenges facing women and girls globally, but I think Women Inspiring Women offers this powerful antidote to that feeling of helplessness.
Absolutely. One of the key takeaways from this project is that everyone has a role to play, no matter how big or small.
So let's break it down. What are some concrete steps we can all take, regardless of our background or profession?
It starts with awareness. Educating ourselves about the specific issues affecting women and girls in our communities and around the world.
And that doesn't have to be a daunting task either. There are so many resources available online, from organizations like TGLF to the countless stories shared in the Women Inspiring Women book itself.
Once we have a better understanding of the challenges, we can start to identify opportunities to make a difference.
So that could mean like volunteering our time to a local organization that supports women's health or education.
Or donating to a cause we care about. Even small contributions can make a big difference.
And let's not underestimate the power of our everyday choices either. We can choose to support businesses that promote gender equality, invest in companies that prioritize women's leadership.
It's about aligning our values with our actions. And speaking of action, one of the most powerful things we can do is amplify women's voices.
Absolutely sharing their stories, promoting their work, creating platforms for them to be heard. Social media is like a great tool for this.
Yeah, it's about using our influence, however big or small, to challenge harmful stereotypes and celebrate women's achievements.
And let's not forget the importance of mentorship.
Yeah.
We've talked about the intergenerational aspect, but mentorship can take many forms.
It could be as simple as offering to guide a younger woman in your field, or connecting with women from different backgrounds to share experiences and learn from each other.
Remember, mentorship isn't just about giving advice. It's about listening, supporting, and encouraging each other's growth.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing the unique strengths and challenges that women face and working together to create a more equitable and supportive environment.
There's a beautiful quote from the book that captures this spirit of collective action. It's from Marie Chantal Uwamahoro, community health worker in Rwanda. She says, "When we work together, we can achieve anything."
It's such a simple message, but so profound. It reminds us that change doesn't happen in isolation. It happens when we come together, share our knowledge, and support each other's dreams.
And that's what Women Inspiring Women is all about, creating this global network of women who are committed to making a difference, a network that you, the listener, can be a part of.
As we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a challenge.
I'm listening.
What's one small step you can take today to contribute to this movement for change? It could be something as simple as sending a message of encouragement to a woman in your life.
Or sharing a story from Women Inspiring Women that resonated with you.
Right. Or maybe it's finally signing up for that peer learning course that starts on March 23rd. It's an incredible opportunity to connect with this global community of women, learn from each other, and develop a concrete plan to make your own unique contribution to the world.
And who knows, maybe one day, your story will be the one inspiring a new generation of women to follow in your footsteps. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you've been inspired to take action and make a difference.